welcome to the 28th Annual Undergraduate Biology Research Program Conference. I'm Carol Bender, I direct the program, and it's wonderful to see all of you here today for what promises to be a really exciting afternoon. This is the day each year when we get, I'm being accompanied by Bolero, it's really great. I could break into song, but I probably better not. Anyway, this is the time every year when we get together with the whole UBRP community to celebrate the accomplishments of our undergraduate researchers. And it's really, truly exciting. I'd like to extend a special welcome to our undergraduate student presenters, and particularly to those students from Northern Arizona University who come all the way down to Tucson to present with us today. Thank you very much for coming. I also want to welcome the faculty mentors, all the people who work in the research groups with our students, and the university administrators who are here, the students' families and friends, UBRP donors, UBRP alumni, and we have some from as far away as Delaware, which is really wonderful, and members of the public, and our elected representatives. So we have Councilman Steve Kozaczyk here from Ward 6, and we have Robert Cole, who is here from Councilman Paul Cunningham's Ward 2 office. Thank you very much for coming. This is a day that we all look forward to with great anticipation, and as you can imagine, it takes a tremendous amount of preparation and organization. So thank you very much to all of the volunteers who helped us get the conference together today, and particularly thank you to Jen Kubetta, who is masterful in getting us all organized. Thank you very much, Jen. Today offers the students an opportunity to show us what they've discovered in their research groups. And what they've learned about failure and perseverance in the process. And it's a time when the public gets to learn more about how the research mission of the university supports the educational mission of the university. So that's really very powerful, which I hope that you will do. But you can also ask them about what they learned in the process of getting this research experience. I think that's really, really important, because that's how you can begin to appreciate the value of this experience. We always encourage our UBRP alums to come back. I'm so glad to see you here, Herson. Herson is the alum from Delaware who's with us today. Stand up, Herson. And he's brought along with him somebody who I hope will be the future of UBRP, his daughter. So we've been around for a long time. Anyway, we always invite one of our alums to give the keynote address. And these talks that the alums give are truly, truly inspirational. So today we're going to be hearing from Dr. Retsina Meyer. She is a 2004 alum who earned a PhD in neuroscience from MIT. And she started her own company called Resilience Therapeutics, which is looking for new drug treatments for PTSD, a very, very important area. In UBRP, she worked with my late husband, Dr. David Rowe, and subsequently with Dr. Bruce McNaughton. In the McNaughton lab, she was studying memory and the hippocampus in rats, and her work took her to Norway to work in the laboratory of Drs. Edvard and Britt-May Moser. The Mosers, you may remember, won the Nobel Prize in 2014. So our students go to really top-notch laboratories, both here and abroad. While she was in Norway in 2004, she had the occasion to attend the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony, where Dr. Wangari Maathai, a Kenyan woman who started the Greenbelt movement, was honored for her work. It would not surprise me at all if someday Retsina received that same award. Not surprise me at all. In her UBRP and Bravo applications, Dr. Meyer talked about wanting to be an international science consultant, to use the tools of science to solve problems cross-culturally. She even understood as an 18-year-old the value of science as a tool for diplomacy. She understands that transformational change requires changing orthodoxy. She knows that science can be used to help developing a greater understanding of the world and to build closer connections among those who inhabit it. Substance and a shared commitment to problem solving are the bedrock of science and of friendship. No one understands that better than Dr. Meyer, and I am so pleased that she accepted our invitation to speak to us today. Her remarks are titled, Whatever It Takes. Please welcome Dr. Meyer.
So while they're setting that up, thank you, Carol, for that generous introduction. Like she said, wait, hold on. I'm not done with the video. Thank you, Carol, for bringing me here today in so many ways. First, by providing the UBRP program, which is such a tremendous benefit to us all. That we can pursue the highest form of education, actually participating in the scientific process and contributing to novel data and, when sophisticated enough, novel ideas, and not take on more debt. Because before UBRP, I was paying to earn course credit to participate in research. And then, bravo. As I was paying, what an amazing opportunity and program to get to combine two of the most important experiences you can have as an undergraduate, participation in study abroad and active scientific involvement. This program was remarkable and unique in its scope and depth of impact. For all of you in this room, with at least another semester or two, Carol has a similar program for the Czech Republic. Apply. Now. And Carol, thank you for also helping me to maintain my trajectory in science at pivotal moments in my life. You may not have realized, but I had been quite ill for some semesters and had considered whether to continue working in the lab after my first study abroad. As you mentioned, I had a number of majors, or you didn't mention, but I did have a number of majors, and this was discussed recently. I had a number of majors, and the coursework was becoming more and more taxing, and in each of them, my classmates who were not working in the lab concurrently seemed on the outside to be having an easier go of it. But you were able to remind me of me, and what I wanted to do, and where I wanted to go. And when I didn't think I could do it, I did. And you helped. And so I suppose it's like they say, you never know who you're inspiring. And I could go on, not only for myself, but for many of my friends, but we have so much to cover. So would everyone please join me in thanking Carol Bender for all she does for us. And thank you, dear audience, all the curious attendees supporting the science and the scientists, and the UBRP students from here and from far away for working to put together these magnificent posters and spending your Saturday sharing your science. This is but one step along the long road of your careers, but it is a very important one. Every day, by working in the lab and communicating your findings, you are helping to advance the human mission, to understand ourselves and our surroundings. Welcome to the team. So when Carol invited me to speak at the annual UBRP conference, I was very excited to come back to U of A and share my learnings with such a cool audience. About 15 years ago, I was where you are now. Actually, this building is pretty swanky and very, very fancy and new. And I think when I was going here, there was just a giant hole that the student union was called. I think I have a photo. Yes. No, I'm kidding. This is from like 1945. But the story of that day, coming together on that Saturday morning, hanging up my poster, some of my friends and I had actually decided to make a party of it. We spent the night before at my house and then came together to the Life Science South building to put up our posters before the conference. I remember Carol was horrified that we were still dressed in our pajamas. But we went home and we dressed up pretty spiffy and had a great day of science and community. Both my father and my then boyfriend, now husband, who's still here in the audience, came and shared that science and that community with me and all of my friends. It was one of the first chances I had gotten to communicate science to a group other than my lab or classmates. I was working on exploring how a class of receptors and allosteric modulators of the AMPA receptor altered learning acquisition, memory consolidation, and memory recall. The idea was this: if you could hold these receptors open just a little bit longer, you could increase the opportunity for long-lasting connections in the memory engram. It's a very fun, pertinent topic, and which might be seen as a metaphor for what we're doing every day. If we're a little more open, if we take a little more opportunity, we might increase the chances of really learning something. So I had to take this project, which I knew intimately, and convey the purpose and the findings to people who were not neuroscientists. It was challenging, but my mentors, both Dr. Bruce McNaughton and Carol Barnes, helped me to prepare, and my friends helped me practice, and it was a success. Even my dad was able to take up presenting my posters so that I could go and see all of my friends' posters. So several months ago, Carol invited me to speak at this year's conference. Why? Was it because of my amazing fashion sense all of those years ago? Just the actor portrayal. She said it was something along the lines of being a role model for you guys, for the UBRP students, if you knew what I had accomplished. Basically, she was naming me as successful. And so I set out about trying to understand what it takes to be successful. Like any good scientist, I read the literature, went to seminars, listened to lectures, spoke with experts in the field, formed hypotheses and tested those I was able to test, discussed and debated with my mentors. And since I am here today at such a critical phase in your development, see, your prefrontal cortex is still evolving. You have many more years until that's finished. And therefore, I have the chance to significantly alter your trajectory. So I would like to report on my findings so that we may maximize your probability of success. Because to give a person a fish, you feed them for a day. But to teach a person to dissect a shark, you inspire them for a lifetime. So here's the formula for success. Good? Everyone understand? So not everyone will be familiar with mathematical probability nomenclature. So I'll walk you through it. And Bill, please forgive me my liberties that I've taken with that nomenclature. So, P of G given U is the probability of G, a good thing or a positive outcome that you want given what you put into it. I.e., what is the probability of success? Now, eventually, you will need to choose an outcome that you're working towards. Originally, my G was to be an academic professor. My whole life, I feel, I wanted to be the kind of person who created a rich environment to sprout ideas and innovation. I did all the things one would need to do to advance towards that goal, that good thing. However, as I got closer and closer to the goal, I realized that there were components of it that were not congruent with my happiness. That's when I realized that the good thing, the thing I really wanted, was to be happy. For me to be happy, I did not need to be an academic professor, so I had to take a step back and ask, what was it that I do need? Well, I like to work on teams with excellent, passionate colleagues. I love to work on high-impact problems, and this is domain agnostic. It could be science or policy. Something that really moves the needle on improving the human condition. I want to work on problems that are complex and challenging. I don't want to skate by on skills that I already have. I want to continually learn and grow. That said, I do enjoy leveraging my scientific and creative expertise. So in order to maximize my upside, the value of my success, if I were to attain this outcome, I had to define it differently. That didn't come as a job title, but as a cluster of characteristics. And when you define your goal this way, as its core components, you see more opportunities, more flexibility in how you might attain it. And so I found a job that met all of these criteria that I had not necessarily considered in my youth. And that is that of entrepreneur, and specifically a scientific entrepreneur. As a scientist, my aim is to find ways to preserve people's minds throughout their lives. As an entrepreneur, I'm working to bring those discoveries from academia in the lab and into the world. So what are the characteristics of your success? Is it impact, travel, family, money, fame? It is important that you pick the ones that are right for you. Otherwise, even in attaining it, you will not have succeeded. Now let's dig in a little bit to the formula. What is driving that probability of success? Here we have a very important factor. This is the concentration of opportunities. Why would the concentration of opportunities matter? Because the more opportunities you come across, the more you may attempt. Let's take an easy to digest example. This is person A. Person A has a pretty good probability of success when they try something. Let's say it's 10%. That means if they attempt 10 things, then one of them will succeed it. Bravo, person A, you have a success under your belt. We're very proud of you. But maybe we'll introduce person B. They have the exact same probability of success, 10%. However, they are a risk taker, and they often say yes to new opportunities as they come. If person B may try out 100 different things, how many successes will person B have? 10% of 100 is 10. So, that is quite a lot comparatively, right? So person A has barely tried 10 things, and maybe to person A, person B looks wildly successful, like everything that they ever tried was a success. And this may be even an underestimation of person B's success, because the probability of success in your current endeavors is not independent of your previous experiences. So that's to say, every time you succeed at something, you increase the probability that you will succeed the next time you try. On the other hand, every time you fail at something, you increase the probability that you will succeed the next time you try. And so now person B has a differential rate of success and failure. But would you call this failure? I wouldn't. I call them learning opportunities. And this is why investors would rather invest in an entrepreneur who, even if their previous company has failed for all intents and purposes, they are likely to have learned many, many things. There is a misconception that successful people do not fail. This could not be further from the truth. Think of the most successful person you can. They have probably failed at more things than you've even tried. Reggie Jackson is a Hall of Fame baseball player and a 14-time All-Star, and he happens to have the most strikeouts in baseball history. Thomas Edison has 1,000 failed experiments developing the light bulb, each one a learning opportunity, each one increasing the probability of success that the next experiment would work. So how did I increase my opportunity density? I do it by putting myself in places where opportunities happen. I join programs and organizations that increase my exposure to new fields, new ideas, and more people. I attend lectures and seminars on a variety of topics. I meet people. I really love people so much, and I speak with the attendees of the seminars because probably they have similar interests to mine. I try to meet someone for lunch or coffee twice a week, at least. I also set myself up to be able to take those opportunities. I manage my obligations efficiently, develop productive habits, and I surround myself with a supportive network of friends and family. I say yes often, but never at the sacrifice of my major obligations. So take care that you are taking care of your obligations so that you're free to take on those opportunities. And think about what you can do to increase your opportunity density. It may be as simple as asking, who do you want to have lunch with? And so I do challenge you to find someone here today and meet up with them for coffee next week. So, we've looked at setting your goals so that your definition of success is congruent with what you want, and increasing the probability by increasing your opportunity density. However, there are several other factors. Here, the chi represents an external factor. This is the people you surround yourself with, or the field of work you choose, or the job market at graduation. Aleph represents internal factors. like the mental lens or point of view you use to interpret your world and appreciate what you have or what you long for. It is the skills that you develop in class or in lab, and it is your tenacity and your persistence in the pursuit of your ultimate goals. This represents luck, which I define actually as the intersection of skill and opportunity. Alpha, beta, and gamma are weighting coefficients because not every time or every situation are these components created equal. I've included this complex piece in order to tell you that there's always a little bit of complexity left. Embrace that complexity. And I left the ellipses because the world is changing and how we operate in it is too. We do not yet know all we need to know to succeed. And so this might seem like there's a lot going on here, but two major takeaways are this. First, many of these items are in your control. If you're missing one part of the equation, ramp up another part. If you can add a little to any of these buckets, it will have compounding effects, not only within this particular event, but it will be accumulating over time. And here, perfect is the enemy of the good, meaning something, even a very small addition to any of these buckets, or all of these categories, will have great gains in the future. There's a quote often attributed to Einstein, but I was unable to find the primary source. So, it says, compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. And that has to do with how you invest in these aspects as well towards your success. When the good thing I was working on was investment in my company, I knew that I did not have all the necessary skills in and of myself. I needed to find teammates with complementary skill sets to improve my company's probability of success. Working with my mentors, we drafted the version of a dream candidate to fill those gaps. That list almost certainly would have been difficult to fill with one perfect candidate, and so instead we found a number of people to fill those roles. The second takeaway is that the specific definitions of each of these variables is up to you and dependent on your good thing. What can you do today to improve your chances by 1% of achieving your goal? This can be adding something good or someone good. It can also be removing something or someone bad. Now, context is a very important component to your success. You can be as skilled and as lucky as you like, but a plant in the wrong soil will not thrive. You need to understand your needs, your values, and you need to be critical in finding the right environment and people to surround yourself with. While you should not quit your major goal, you may need to change the place in which you pursue it. I'm going to tell you about a dark time for me. And you are going to have those, I promise. If you're aiming high, if you're trying to do the impossible, if you begin to achieve, heck, if you're even just minding your own business, the probability dictates that you will at some point have a no good, very bad, terrible epoch. You might feel like everything you were working towards is not working, or maybe you're feeling horribly lonely, having given science and work to consume your personal life. It is a roller coaster. There are ups, there are downs, and it's all very risky. And at some point, it will not be okay. And for me, it was a day where I was in the lab, coding or analyzing data, something I don't remember anymore. But the voice in my head said, I don't like science anymore. My inner voice said it fully formed. I don't like science. Can you imagine? Like me, a scientist in my genes from my childhood for always. To me, science was going to unite the human race, and science was my life's mission. I can't imagine this either. So, something was wrong. And when I took a step back, I realized the component that was wrong, the component that was stepping in the way of my success, was my context. It was my place. And even though others were doing just fine, that was not the trajectory I was on. And so persistence and tenacity are necessary for the success of great ambitions. However, spinning your wheels pushing a rock up and up a mountain, as Sisyphus will do for eternity, is not a valuable use of your time and will not maximize your chances of success. I immediately took the measures necessary to change my context and went on to thrive on the greener side of the fence. I did not do it flippantly, only after exhausting all my other buckets. And now it is many years later, and I find myself in a great context. And it is very different. And I am happy, and I am productive, and I'm contributing to my team at the same time as helping them grow. And in the study of stress, negative stimuli are much more adverse if you're not ready for them, if they're unexpected or unpredictable. And so here's your heads up. It's not all honey and roses. So find your friends, keep up with your mentors, and find safety in your family, and identify what environment you need to thrive. And remember, science is tough, but you're tougher. So finally, one very important takeaway from this equation is that the process is iterative. It is infinite. It is not a one-time thing. Good things beget new good things. So UBRP allowed me to study behavioral genetics in Dr. David Rowe's lab, and then electrophysiology and neuropharmacology in Carol Barnes and Bruce McNaughton's lab. When Bravo was available, I asked Barnes and McNaughton for support to pursue the opportunity, which thereby introduced me to the Moser lab. There I had a great time. I made great friends, and having started much work, I was enthusiastic to return, and I did, applying for a Fulbright scholarship. This experience made me attractive for graduate programs, and I eventually matriculated to MIT, which allowed me to train as a translational scientist, which compelled me to patent my work in order that it may realize all of its potential and impact, and thus eventually emboldened me to start a company to commercialize it. The point is, you need to work on building your history of success so that in turn, it begins to work for you. And even if somehow you lose something, you will have the proper framing to see that that loss is temporary and that you will have the ability to rebuild it back up, because really that loss was a learning opportunity. And so, as Homo sapiens, we are a magnificent species, capable of learning by experience, example, and also by lecture. I'm going to review the main takeaways and your calls to action. So it's not under your seat, but I have provided you with the equation for improving your probability of success. It's up to you to define your variables. What are the characteristics of your success? I challenge you to find someone new here today and have coffee with them next week. And ask yourself, what can you do today and every day to improve the probability by even a tiny %? I promise that you will have rough times, so start building your support network now. And remember to keep at it. Because your final call to action is this. You must continue your role advancing the human mission, whatever it takes. You must stay curious, stay creative, and keep questioning. Revel in the unearthing of the new truths and take in the beauty of the order and the chaos that is the natural world. Because you never know who might be inspiring.
And I will never again look at equations in the same way. So sometimes, I mean, when May rolls around and our current group of viewers graduate,
When our current UBRP students graduate, I think that I just will not survive. I mean, we come to rely on them so much, and they're so much fun and good to have around. And then they go off and do things like Retsina has done, and then we become incredibly proud. But we thought it would be good for those of you in the audience today to hear from one of our current students about what the program means to him. So, Jordan, would you come to the stage?
Hi everyone, how are you doing today?
Great!
Good? Awesome, you having fun? Awesome, all right. I also had in here to ask if we're staying dry, but I don't think the rain has been a problem for a while, so we'll skip that. So, thank you to Carol and Jen. They asked me to come today to talk about what UBRP is about. So, what is it about? Well, I could probably go on for about 3 hours at least with all the experiences I've had over the last 2 years in UBRP, but I'll try to boil it down to about 5 minutes. And I'm going to do that by talking about 4 things. One of the most important aspects of UBRP in my opinion, followed by 3 lessons that I've learned from the program so far. So, first and foremost is all of you, both the students, mentors, friends, parents, guest speakers, and alums. You're all part of what is known as the UBRP community. And when you talk to UBRP students about UBRP, this is one of the things they talk about most often. So I know that I'm not alone in thinking this is incredibly important. I've made a lot of good friends over the last 4 years at college, but a significant portion of them came from this program, UBRP. These are the people we hang out with, the people we study with, people we have coffee with, hopefully this next week, the people we vent to when things aren't going well in the lab, which happens a lot, and the people we just go to when we don't have anyone else. So I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for making up part of this UBRP community. It really means a lot, and I hope it's meant a lot to you too. So now to move on to the 3 things I've learned, and they can be summarized in 3 words: adapt, predict, and explore, or APE for short. So I've been talking for about 2 minutes, and I can tell some of you are looking antsy already, so we're going to do a little activity. How does that sound? All right. So I'm going to try to break the room into 4 parts. I want all 3 front sections is one group, and then the sections back there is group 2, the section in the middle is group 3, and the section in the back is group 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to point to each group. And this group, when I point to you, you're going to shout out the letter U. In the back, you're going to shout out B. You're going to shout out R. What do you think you're going to shout out? P. There you go. You got it. All right. Let's give it a try. U, B, R, E. U, B, R, E. U, B, R, E. So, what was the point of this silly activity? Well, it was supposed to have fun, and I hope you did. But it was also to demonstrate adaptability. Now, some of you probably guessed that since adapt was my first word, that activity was going to have something to do with it. But I'm here to tell you that sometimes, even though we have a plan, and though you expect me to point to everyone in the right order, sometimes that doesn't always happen. And so being able to adapt to the situation, although we had a little trouble, but that's all right, failure is a good thing, is a very important skill, and I think UBRP has really taught me that. So next is the concept of predict. Now, often we like to think of predicting before we have to adapt to a situation, but this isn't always the case. So we do our best to try to make predictions, but they're not always right. Making predictions isn't easy, and anyone who's ever worked in a lab or worked at any job can tell you that. But making that prediction is still important because you have this idea in your mind about what you expect, and then you can compare what happened to what you expected, and then you can adapt for that. You see where this is going? All right. So even if it's not a great prediction, being able to make that prediction is the key. And I've learned that this is an incredibly useful skill to apply to the future, whether you're a scientist, an entrepreneur, or anything else. And what's the 3rd topic? Well, it's explore. In college, they often talk about encouraging us to get out there, to see the world, meet new people, etc. UBRP has helped provide a great number of these opportunities for myself and all of my peers. To give you an example, just over the last year, I've traveled down to Nogales to talk about border issues with an expert in the field. I've been able to invite an eminent speaker to come and give a seminar at the U of A. I've helped organize a community panel on water issues that's going to happen next month. Hopefully some of you got a flyer about this. And I've even been to 4 conferences. One of them was all the way in Dublin. Now, I'm very grateful for these opportunities and grateful for the chance to get to go do them. But getting to those places is only half the battle. Once you get there, you have to be willing to explore. You've got to get your feet dirty, feet wet, hands dirty, and you've got to engage. You've got to be adventurous. And I think this is one of the true strengths of UBRP. So getting us the passion to go out there and not just be in a place, but experience it, to explore it, to make it ours. So that's it. Those are the three things: adapt, predict, and explore. And I hope all of you, no matter what you've done in your career and what you plan to do from here forward, have learned that you can use these three things and everything else to make a difference in your lives. So I bid you good luck for that. And finally, none of us would be here without the efforts of two very special people. So I would like to give recognition to both Carol Bender and Jennifer Cubetta for all of their hard work. And I know I'm not alone in expressing my gratitude.
Oh, great messages today. I'd like to introduce Dr. John Ennemark now. John was one of our faculty mentors for years and years and turned out a number of really highly successful scientists. And then he went on and became emeritus, but we didn't let him go. We recruited him to be the chair of our UBRP advisory board. So, John.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. And again, I want to welcome all of you here to this annual UBRP conference. So as Carol mentioned, I'm chair of the advisory committee for, well, I don't have to say all the words now. We know that's UBRP. And so the advisory committee has several faculty members, some former UBRP members, parents of former members, people interested in it in the community, several people from biotech companies, and all these people are interested in fostering undergraduate research, which is what we've heard about today. So before I go on to say more about that, I want to thank Dr. Retsina Meyer for her and also let's thank Jordan for his remarks. Both of them encouraging all of the UBRP scholars that we presently have and any future participants. Okay, so also one of the keys to the success of the UBRP program is all the faculty mentors who take UBRP students into their research groups and provide equipment, access to equipment, supplies, the camaraderie of other people in their groups, and to provide them the opportunity to learn about research and be successful. So any of past and present UBRP mentors are here. Would you please stand so we could recognize you and give you a round of applause as well? I know I see several of you in the audience. Okay, so I remind you again, this is our 28th annual UBRP Research Conference. And the idea that undergraduates could be productively involved in research throughout their undergraduate career is the brainchild of the late Professor Michael Wells. And the program has been fostered and supported over the years with funding from the University of Arizona, the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, National Institutes of Health, also the Beckman Foundation, the American Society for Experimental Therapeutics, which is called ASPET, and the Western Alliance for Student Opportunities, WASO, as well as the deans of the colleges of science, agriculture, medicine, public health, the vice president for research, and we want to thank all of these sponsors, and we're very proud of their involvement in the continuing success. So I don't have the activities that Jordan does, but I'll have you all applaud him. Now, many of our original sponsors, seeing that we've been doing this for 28 years, figure we're getting fairly mature, and we should now be able to take over much more of the funding by ourselves so they can go off and seed new opportunities and new kinds of adventures for people to do research or whatever their activities. And so that's a real challenge for us to continue this program to provide the opportunities for current students to get involved in undergraduate research. And so one of the things which the advisory board has developed is the Friends of UBRP. And you see I have my button on, Friends of UBRP. It allows you to contribute to the UBRP program at a whole variety of levels. And in fact, many of our current UBRP students contribute a portion of their stipend to UBRP so that additional students can participate in the research opportunities that the program provides. And I'm very pleased to announce that last year's goal of $35,000 by this date has been met. And so all of you out there, again, deserve another round of applause. And so having achieved that, it's certainly motivation for the current year. And obviously we need to have a better goal, and so the goal is $40,000 before the 29th UBRP conference, which will be next January. So as you go around and see the posters and interact with the students and learn more about their research, you should think seriously about becoming a friend of UBRP if you're not already a friend of UBRP. And if you are a friend of UBRP, become a better friend of UBRP. And so you can sign up at the desk out there to become a friend of UBRP. And as I mentioned, any amount is really totally appreciated and helps the program. And I didn't bring them along, but you'll get a card that says, I think, I love UBRP when you do that. And you can, what else? Okay, so visit the registration desk and become a friend of UBRP. Now, finally, there's another one-time way that you can contribute to UBRP today. All right. Here I have a basketball signed by all the members of the 2016-17 Arizona Wildcats basketball team. This is being raffled off, $5 for one ticket, three tickets for $10. You're at the drawing today at 4:30. One of you lucky people will get this basketball. I remind you that the Wildcats are 17-2 this year. They are ranked either 13th or 14th nationally, depending on what poll you look at. And this afternoon, they play the highly ranked UCLA team in Los Angeles. So if you put buy a raffle ticket on this basketball, it will also, I'm sure, help them secure a win this afternoon. So there are many ways now you can continue to help UBRP be a successful program. I've been honored to be a mentor and to be involved with many students and now to be a part of the advisory board. And it's amazing to me the kinds of students that come through this program. And I hope that many of you will also join in supporting this program. I'll turn it back to
We're going to leave the basketball there so you can all look at it. Think about putting in a raffle ticket. So I'm Jennifer Kubetta. I am honored to serve as the assistant director for the UBRP program. I'm also one of its alumni. So It's always great for me to come to the conference every year, not just to organize it, but to see how excited people are and for me to be reminded of all the wonderful things that our students are doing. So I'm here just to do very quick housekeeping details. So for the poster session, which is going to be happening next, as everyone looks at me nervously, a few things. The restrooms are located on the first and the second floors. On the first floor, they're in the cafe, and then over here by the north entrance to the building. And on the second floor, they're on both ends of the building as well. So in case you need to do that, take a break before the poster session, that's where they are. The weather so far has been holding out, but thankfully we were able to put all of our students and all of their posters on the second floor. So if you're going to see any of the posters, they are in the southern corridor of the second floor in either the rooms or on the hallway. And I think if you go there, you're not going to be able to miss it. Hopefully when you registered or checked in today, you all got a topical guide to posters, and so we hope this helps you to decide which posters to look at. I hope you can look at all of them, but in all honesty, I think we have 135 students presenting today, which is great, from all over the place. And so hopefully you can use that to determine what you want to see categorically, and then on the back as well as a map of which rooms contain which poster numbers. So in case you're looking for someone in particular, that's how you find them. And as far as who's presenting when, I think the students know this, but the visitors may not. All of the odd numbered posters will be presenting first from 2 o'clock to 3:15. And then I will run around with my handy dandy chime in case you forget at 3:15, and we'll switch to the second group. So the even numbered posters will present from 3:15 to 4:30. So do keep that in mind. And along those lines, we are going to have dessert with the poster sessions. And I don't want anyone to panic because we will have 2 times for dessert. So the first people who are presenting the posters, don't panic. There will still be lots of carrot cake and brownies and lemon bars and stuff for you. That will take place in the cafe. But yes, you can get something to eat, check out posters. It should be a fun time. Other stuff to do during the poster session, raise your hand if you have visited the Brain Bus. Ah, very good. So if you haven't yet, there is a blue bus that's on the parked on the north side of ENR2. That is our Brain Bus. It's being hosted by Lynn Olin. A couple of the other activities are staying as well, so you can take advantage of that during the poster session time. The Brain Bus, I think, will be here until 3:30, and the other activities it kind of depends, but go visit them if you'd like. And then, of course, we have raffle tickets for the basketball, which you can see Vince if you want to buy any of those. We're also selling t-shirts for UBRP, again, all for student support if you're interested in that. So besides that, I think it was almost time for the poster session. So, woo, we are getting ready to go. If you have any questions, please feel free to come up and ask me. But onward and forward, please be back here at 4:30 for our award ceremony. Have fun.